on TV, this was telling people that the election was rigged. And then in his private texts, he was telling people that he thought it was bull, that the election was rigged. That cost Fox News almost $1 billion. So think about that. This dude went on TV, like in his private text, he's telling people, hey man, our listeners are good people. We shouldn't be misleading them. Like this is a bunch of bullshit. And then going on air and telling people a lie. It's like something he knew wasn't true. That right there, that's cable news to me. And I'm sure that if any of these other networks got audited, you would find the same fucking thing. All right, welcome back. BS with Brian Simpson, episode 60. Don't forget to go to BrianSimpsonComedy.com for my tour dates. Actually, I'm going to be in Milwaukee coming up here soon, and Houston, and other stuff. Go to BSComedy.com, BrianSimpsonComedy.com for tickets. Go to any of my socials at BS Comedian. Don't forget to subscribe or buy some shit if you want to support the pod. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, email us at BSwithBrianSimpson@gmail.com. All right. So Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox News, and Don Lemon got fired from CNN. Those are the biggest news stories yesterday. Oh, and Aaron Rodgers got traded to the Jets. I'm not sure which one of those things I care about less. And I'm not sure which one of those things affects the Jets more. Because they suck. Just traditionally. I don't know if that's going to...
That's the angle.
Yeah. They're awful. They've been, historically awful. They used to be pretty great. Before all of us were born, they were great. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why certain sports organizations tend to just be awful historically. I think it's ownership, but it's hard to say. I think it is ownership, though. The people that make the most money. They tend to be the part of the problem, and also the hardest to get rid of. Right?
But Brian, they're the ones that risk the most. That's what that's what the comments said on your short on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
that's why the owners make them.
I'm very familiar with capitalist apologetics. But
bootlicking, you mean?
Yeah, I guess a lot of people have this attitude that like, what does that mean? Risk the most? What are you talking about? Because I guess people mean, they put the money up. Where'd they get the money from? See, the thing is, if you start following any money trail in American history, it's going to lead back to theft, some crime of some sort, theft, slavery. Yeah, it's like I ain't trying to hear all that shit. They risk the most. What does that fucking mean? And listen, because here's the thing too. I would not suggest, so long as we're in our capitalist system, I would not suggest that that owners of franchises and record labels should get $0 or make minimum wage. But let's not pretend like for the vast majority of American history, they haven't just completely fucked over workers. There has never been a time where workers was up. Sports are the closest we've ever been to that. And actually, only professional basketball and baseball, I think, are even the example. Where the players, and that's just because the players get a little over half. Oh, actually, maybe basketball players get half. Exactly. Right? Yeah, right. But in every other situation, you talk about...
Well, but I think that sports is actually a great example where owners don't risk the most.
Well, they
really think like...
Right.
If you have $1 billion and you risk $500 million of it as like a part owner of a sports team, you're not risking as much as somebody who is risking their like youth and health and lack of disability to play football.
Yeah. Imagine being an integral part of $1 billion organization. I think the NFL was $9 or $11 billion recently. And that's just what they reporting because they ain't, come on. But abandonment and then dying broke and cripple. I don't know.
I think National Football League is worth $112 billion.
Yeah, all the artists you see who, by the time, like back when they used to sell like actual records, artists will sell a record for $10 and they get 25 cents. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe you think that's fair. Maybe that's okay with you because somebody risked the most. What the fuck does that even mean? Yeah, and then even after they recoup, they find out they don't even own their own name. They don't own their own name. They don't own their masters. They don't own their publishing. Yeah, but Don Lemon and because I stopped because it's a misnomer when I say I don't pay attention to politics because that's impossible. But I definitely don't be watching these political pundits and all that. I try to keep an eye on what's actually going on in the government, but I don't tune in to CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and see listen to people telling me how to feel about what's happening. Because I think that skews it skews your logic. A lot of times they're either telling you what you want to hear or they're trying to scare you into thinking what they think or feeling how they feel. So I just don't pay attention to them. And I think it makes for me being slightly less informed, but I think I get a hold of more quality information as opposed to like all the trash, and I don't even know I wouldn't
even say it makes you less. I don't even think it makes you less informed. I think that in a lot of cases, propaganda is worse than no information whatsoever, because it's frustrating when somebody brings up a topic and you can tell they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they heard one key word in like a Tucker Carlson rant or like a CNN story, and they know emotionally how that word makes them feel, right? They hear like Donbass region, and they can't point out where the Donbass region is on a map, but they have an emotional reaction to that phrase because they've been drip-fed an opinion to have from whatever their like infotainment source, their preferred infotainment source is.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, guys. Cable news is responsible for the fall of humanity. I think you can trace it back to that, to the proliferation of cable news. The beginning of the 24-hour news cycle is what led to it's the reason why we can't evolve faster than we devolve in certain areas, why we're not like emotionally more evolved as technology evolves. Because cable news, when it switched to the point where news had to be 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Because like we've talked about this before, I think, but like when I was coming up, the news was something you watched in the morning and at night. It came on at a certain time. It was the morning news and it was the late night news or night news or whatever the fuck they called it. And it was on for an hour or so, and then it was over. And I guess cable didn't really exist yet. And then cable kind of exists when cable came around. Most people only really had cable for like HBO and boxing and movies and porn. But then somewhere along the lines, I don't know when CNN was invented, but
1980.
So that was before I was born. But when it became like the thing that everyone like when cable became the norm, and that's what everyone watched, because very few people actually watch network news anymore. Most of the news is being shared on social media and all that other stuff. It's like when it became where they had to have something to say every single second of every single day, they started reaching. And then they started realizing, like they started considering their ratings the way that TV shows did. And they realized that drama is what sold. So they started kind of stirring it up a bit. And now it's at the point where like it's like the death of truth. Like nobody really knows what's true. They all lie. They all embellish. I mean, just recently, I don't know what Don Lemon got in trouble for, but I know the Tucker Carlson thing. There was a lawsuit against Fox News about the defamation suit from the Dominion voting systems, right? And the crazy shit is, on TV, this motherfucker was telling people that the election was rigged. And then in his private texts, he was telling people that he thought it was bullshit, that the election was rigged. That cost Fox News almost $1 billion. So think about that. This dude went on TV, like in his private text, he's telling people, hey man, our listeners are good people. We shouldn't be misleading them. Like this is a bunch of bullshit. And then going on air and telling people a lie. It's like something he knew wasn't true. That right there, that's cable news to me. And I'm sure that if any of these other networks got audited, you would find the same fucking thing. You know? It's like, so I don't trust, it's like you can't, so if you can't trust the news, then what are you left with? You left with Twitter, where motherfuckers will literally see a meme with no website, no reference, no nothing, just text on a picture. And that'll be their opinion now. They'll just believe it. No peer review, no research. So then what else are you left with? So because the internet's full of trolls, always has been. So then you have to rely on what? The intellect of the average person? Get the fuck out of here. We're doomed. Damn, this is the second cynical episode, the Doomsdays. We're doomed.
Brian, I think this is the 60th episode in a row about doom.
Yeah, I just don't believe that we have what it takes to make it. I think that's not true. I think we have the resources. Like we have the capability to like make it through whatever the fuck we're going through. But I don't think we have the fortitude. I don't think we have the will. Human nature is so powerful, and you have to be intelligent to overcome your nature. And I think most people are just comfortable being dumb. Or even worse, the scariest people in the world are the dumb people that think they smart. I know a lot of stupid motherfuckers that know they not that sharp, They know they're not the sharpest knife in the drawer, They know they're not the brightest bulb in the hallway, Some of y'all flickering out there, and you know it. And but the most dangerous people are the people that are stupid and think they smart. Those are the people and I think that's the majority of people. That's where we're at. We're at a place where the uninformed are certain that they're informed because they follow 8 TikToks that tell them what to think. And I don't know what to do with those people. Like I refuse to argue with stupid people, and that's also part of the problem, right? Is because it's like because a lot of us that feel like we're informed or we feel like we're intelligent enough to be objective, it's like it gets exhausting. It's so painful to talk to a dumb person that like. I don't have the energy. I'm exhausted. It's like trying to explain quantum physics to somebody that hasn't learned their timetables. And it's like, I barely understand quantum physics myself. I don't got time to teach you how to add and subtract before I explain this whole other, like think about how many things you have to understand between those. It's like, I don't have time to do that. And some people, like they use it, their stupidity is like a weapon. They use the fact that they don't understand against you. Make it make sense. How many times have you heard somebody say that? Make it make sense. It's like, why is it my responsibility for it to make sense to you? For logical things to make sense? I don't have time for that. So I'm willing to let the whole goddamn thing burn. Let's just end it. Let's just set off all the nukes and Let the next species evolve intelligence. Let's leave behind some. Let's use CRISPR. Let's put some intelligent genes in some sharks and some apes and some snakes and and then let's just end it. Let's just see. Let one of the smart other species survive. Let's just melt all the ice caps. What are we waiting for? We're stuck in a loveless marriage with ourselves, right? It's like we say we don't, because nobody wants to die, right? But nobody wants to save shit. So I don't even know what we're doing. It's like we're stuck in this holding pattern. Like we fake care. I mean, I guess the religious people want, I guess they can always be like, oh, well, the afterlife that's what I'm waiting on. The afterlife's gonna be good. Fuck this earth stuff. I envy y'all so. Which I think that's one of the emails. It's getting hot outside, which means your dick and your balls will soon be in your own personal swamp. You can either break out the powder and smell like a retirement home, or you can give sheath underwear a try. It has 2 pouches, one for your dick and one for your balls. It keeps things separated so your crown jewels can get some airflow down there. Sheath underwear comes in tons of cool patterns to help you look good and feel comfortable. I personally use sheath underwear, and I'm very close to all my underwear being sheath because I like my balls being in a little pocket. For once in your life, enjoy springtime without your dick stuck to your leg. For our ladies in the audience, check out She Sports Bras, bikini briefs, and boy shorts. Yes, there's a pocket for your clit. Go to sheathunderwear.com and use code BS to get 20% off your first order. Plus, Sheath Underwear is 100% money-back guarantee. That's sheathunderwear.com, promo code BS. Get Sheath Underwear. Support the show. Support your balls. This is from Drew. I love your guys' pod so much. Hi, guys. I just heard the pod where you talked a lot about religion. I was wondering what specifically it was that convinced you that God doesn't exist. Well, see, there you go right there. I never said that I was convinced that God doesn't exist. I mean, I am. But I think this question misunderstands my point. See, let me read the rest of your email before I start making a bunch of assumptions. I know you mentioned that a guy from your platoon brought up a lot of good points that convinced you, but I was just wondering if one in particular sticks out to you or one from the college class you mentioned. Oh, no, that's not the rest of the email. I believe there is a God and that the Bible comes from God, but I also believe that every religion today is a fraud, a snare, and a racket designed by people who twist the Bible to their own gain, oftentimes for a sexual or monetary benefit. That being said, I have a list of reasons why I believe there is a God, but I would love to hear your points one way or the other. Well, that's the thing, right? No one convinced me that there wasn't a God. I think what was pointed out, what was revealed to me is that no one had ever convinced me that there was. I believed there was a God because I grew up being told there was and being told there were penalties for questioning and such. And, you ever hear that there's an old saying of you cannot reason a man out of a position that he didn't reason himself into, right? So it's like, no one ever proved to me that any of this shit was true. I was just told that, just like Santa Claus. Nobody convinced me. But then one day they was just like, oh yeah, that was all bullshit, and the more I began to question on my own, and I realized, oh, everyone believes their religion for the same reasons because they was raised in it and they was told that, and now they're at a point where it brings them comfort. It is a foundational thing, part of their life. Even though, truth be told, most of the people I know that claim to be any religion don't actually live their life that way. They talk like that,
Right.
Yeah, they talk like that, and they definitely believe it when they judging other people. But then in their day-to-day life, they out here smoking, drinking, fucking, adultering, cheating, stealing, killing, and then they come back and act all holy and shit, or they quote you a verse real quick, or, oh, that's right, they can ask for forgiveness for being a piece of shit. So it's like, yeah, no, I'm not telling you that God doesn't exist. I'm just saying, hey, it don't add up to me. You know what I mean? And I was never allowed to decide for myself. And once I was allowed to decide for myself, shit didn't make sense. If I, it's like if I could snap my fingers and erase religion from your mind, like no one ever indoctrinated you, and then I tried to convince you to buy into it, you would be like, because and the proof is in the pudding. For me, it's like we make fun of like Mormons and Scientologists and all of the sort of newer religions. And we go, oh, that's nonsense. So you believe, and it's like, yeah, but it's all nonsense. It's like like I said, if you had to start from scratch, you would find it real hard to believe. At least I would, which is why I don't. I don't live my life as though there is a deity up in the sky that gives a fuck what I do day to day. And if you do, that's fine. If you need to, that's fine. Where I have a problem is when people try to use their religion, that again is not based on it, it's not evidence-based, to control how other people live their life. Because that's the root of most of our issues is religion. Because again, religion gives you permission to be illogical. An otherwise logical person can't move past. They have this block. They can't move past it because of their religion. It's like, yeah, 2 + 2 is 4, but I might go to hell, so I'm gonna stick with 5. That's how I feel arguing with a religious person. Because separately you can get them to agree that something don't make sense, but you connect it to a talking point or whatever, and they shut the fuck down. It's very, very, very closely related to politics, even though, I don't think it's as closely correlated as some might believe. I don't.
What do you mean by that?
Like, for example, like I just said, I think a lot of I think people give the religious right. I think people, like when people talk about the religious right, I think they give the religious part too much credit. I think some of those people are just hateful. You know what I mean? They're not
right.
They're not anti-trans because of their religion. They just hate trans people. It makes them uncomfortable. Because I think, and maybe hateful is maybe that's too much of a charged word. But I think it makes them uncomfortable because they want the world to be simple. They want it to be black and white, good guy, bad guy, good, evil, right, wrong. The gray areas mean that they can't. It means that they don't have it figured out. Again, I think even if you could somehow separate, because I don't think it's completely separate. But if you could somehow take the average Republican voter and like crush them down and analyze them under a microscope to see like what percentage of it was religious and what percentage of it was like sexual repression, which I guess is connected to the religious stuff. It's like my friends that I've tried to convince to use a bidet. And the truth is, stuff near their butthole make them uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? They scared it means they gay or something, right? But they will say anything but that. Like I said, if you ask them logically, like, hey man, don't you wash your ass with water? Yeah, okay. So this just a little quick ass wash. Yeah, I guess you're right, but I just can't. It's like there's like a mental block. So now in the shower, obviously you don't blast water up your ass. And listen, what your sentence is none of my business. But a bidet is better. Okay? Objectively, a bidet is better. Fuck what your mama told you. Fuck with you. Stop poisoning these kids. At least let your kids be free. Because don't get me wrong, a lot of this shit is weird to me too. Right? Like, but it ain't for me. A lot of the music is weird. I think the dances is weird. But I envy the freedom. So what if it's 17 genders? That ain't none of my business. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't care. It's not for me. Let the kids be free. Let them have what they want to have. They'll sort it out. They'll realize who they should be listening to and who they shouldn't. But I'm not. Right. I'm not like against it. I'm not trying to shut it down. Because it ain't. The world is moving on, and you get left behind. You can't keep it the same. And I think that's a lot of where the conflict in our country comes from. I guess that's literally what conservative means, right? It means keeping things the same. You know what I mean? And
right.
And it's like this fight between this fight against change of any kind. It's like, so I don't know I don't have the answers though. Like I said, I think it's a wrap, so it don't really matter for real. There's people out here having kids and grandkids like they got hope. That's crazy to me. And maybe I just feel that way because I don't have anything at stake. I don't own any property. I don't have any children. So if all of it end right now, I haven't lost anything.
Right.
And
you don't have any. You don't have anything in the kitty.
Yeah, because that's the argument that my grandparents and other conservatives always have against me that I can't clap back against. Like, oh, you don't own anything. Like you're not invested in it. So that's why you don't give a fuck. It's like, yep, true. That's true. But it don't look like a good investment. That's all I'm saying. The future don't look like a good investment. That's why I'm not invested in it. But I felt the same way about Bitcoin. I know niggas that got rich off that.
Yeah. But I think that, don't you think that every single generation felt like that's a wrap? And it's just as your generation comes up, you're born into the world. You're born into a world that is built a certain way. And to you, that's normal. And to people that were born into the world before it was that way, that world seems fallen or degraded or wrong, or maybe you just, or scary.
Or just
maybe
different.
You just can't navigate it the way you could. It's just different.
No.
And then as you get older, the world just passes you by, and then you die, and your children go through the same process. I mean,
no.
We don't give a shit. We don't give a shit that the Roman Empire fell, but that must have felt like the end of the fucking world to the people who were living through it.
Okay, well, two things about what you just said. Well, first, the Roman Empire thing. That's true, but the Romans thought that they were the world, but now this is actually global. It's actually the whole planet that we actually destroying. It's not like it's not just the empire. It's like the whole thing. We're destroying the environment, and we know that.
Well,
and the difference between this generation and previous ones is, I think previous generations were just ignorant enough where they thought things might end if they didn't fight. So they fought. But now we know things are ending. We like now it's like we have, because again, what's unique about now is no one trusts the truth. No one trusts the government. No one trusts our leaders. It's this, the celebration of ignorance has reached a peak where I don't think we can recover, Because like I said, we're actually destroying the world. It's not just like that we feel like it's the end of the world. Like we every day we wake up and the ice caps are smaller, and people go, well, goddamn, it's a thunderstorm in the middle of, it's like people act like we can't say the word climate change because the news told everybody that's a trigger word. So now we just got to be like, the weather is different regularly. And we just it just keeps going, and people go, wow, it sure is a lot of homeless people out here, and rent is $5,000 a month for a 1-bedroom, no bathroom, and And we can't connect those two things because politicians have so much fucking say. It's like all of the ways that things can go wrong, that things are going wrong. I mean, I can't think of anything positive one positive breakthrough from the last 20 years.
I can't really think of. Well, I mean, there have.
Oh,
been...
you know what? Disney just threw Thrawn into their live action shit, which I've been asking for, so I can watch that before.
There you go.
Yeah, I can watch that as as the meteor hurdles towards our demise. I can watch that before I go into the void. I can see Disney,
baby.
I can see Disney ruin my favorite Star Wars character.
Well, okay. But so you brought up a few different things. Let's say all those things happen. Let's say we create full societal collapse through wealth disparity. Let's say full climate collapse through climate change. And let's say on top of that, the meteor hits, right? And then there's a nuclear war, right? The Earth will survive all of those things.
True.
Humanity will not survive it certainly not in its current condition, right? But even if you imagine, let's imagine that there's these medical breakthroughs and stem cells and stuff like that, and so the 100 wealthiest families in the world essentially become the Eloi from the Time Machine, from H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, right? They're immortal. They live in these like cloud cities and shit like that, and then the rest of us are all mutated Morlocks living underneath living in caves and shit to protect ourselves from nuclear sun. The people that are born into that world, that will be normal to them. They won't perceive that as a fallen world any more than we perceive our own situation as a fallen world.
I mean,
right?
That's a great philosophical lens to apply. But I mean, at some point, because listen, following that logic, look, there were people born into slavery, and that shit was normal to them. But somebody woke up one day and was like, this shit, like, it's got to be something better than this shit. Right?
Well, but what I'm saying is that there will definitely be some Morlocks who are like, hey, this is bullshit, right? But there's people right now who are like, hey, this is some bullshit. There were people back when chattel slavery was like the fundamental building block of American society. There were still abolitionists back then. There were white abolitionists back then.
Yeah, John Brown.
So no matter how bad society is, or how good a society is, there are always people who recognize the injustices in it. But also, I just mean that. Go ahead.
Also, but do you think the warlock world, like that's what I'm saying? If that's our fate, because there's something in us that's trying to fight that, right? Like we know nobody wants that.
Yeah.
If you know
that that's bad.
Right. I mean, nobody on either side. If you ask any conservative or any liberal or any libertarian or any leftist or anybody, any average person that's not a fucking oligarch, if you ask them, do you want the world to become uninhabitable for humans? Do you want the resources to run out? Most people will be like, of course not. The problem is whether they believe that's what's actually happening or not. That's the difference.
Whether they believe they'll be spared.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of these people who want to like go to Mars or build moon colonies or whatever, they want to do that because they imagine that they're going to live a life of space luxury while either robots or slaves do all their work for them.
Well, that's wild to me too, because I'm gonna tell you right now, those first 4 or 5 generations of space living, that's gonna be some hard living. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, because I think TV has fucked people up where they think that we gonna just jump to fucking Star Trek levels, nigga. And you know what? Star Trek was in the year 30 something. Star Trek was 1,000 years. And let me see here. Let's look it up. What year was Star Trek based in? 2265. That's optimistic as hell. Look, I'm telling y'all some good shit.
Is that optimistic because you don't think we're going to make it that far, or is that optimistic because you think it's going to take longer than that?
Well, first of all, we're not even headed in that.
Or both.
We're not even headed in that direction. So I think even if somehow I became emperor of the earth and we completely changed course and all human resources was directed to getting to this utopian level where people lived, people did what they were best at, and we were just peaceful explorers, and there was no poverty and because on Earth in Star Trek it's pretty fucking good for everybody, right? If we started just heading towards that utopia full speed, I don't know if we would make it in 200 years. But
in Star Trek, correct me because I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but in Star Trek, doesn't that utopia come out of like the war, like just an insane war that decimates the human population or something? Am I mixing up?
Yeah, I don't think
settings?
That's true. I think it comes from us being contacted by the fucking. I'm mixing. I'm the word on the tip of my tongue is Romulans.
Not the Vulcans.
The Vulcans. No, the Vulcans.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes from us being
Vulcans,
contacted
okay.
by the Vulcans and them blessing us with warp technology, and so yeah, it becomes this like exchange thing with the Vulcans. But like I said, even if the Vulcans, like, this is what I'm trying to say. If the Vulcans showed up right now and dropped a warp drive on our ass, we would blow ourselves up. We would find a way to make it a weapon. Like we wouldn't go in that direction. We're not ready for that. So just emotionally,
right?
We're not ready for that. Yeah. So that's why I'm a 3/4 time cynic. I'm a work from home cynic. You know what I mean? Like
okay. I like that. Work from home cynic.
I have a sliver. There's a sliver of hope left. There's a little teeny tiny bit of me that wishes things were different. But every other part of me knows that they aren't, and they probably likely never will be, because we're trash as a species. Listen, you know how they said, I just read recently that blue eyes can be traced back to one person. So everybody with blue eyes is an ancestor of one person, right? And I think that's probably also why we're all retarded. Our proclivity for self-destruction could probably be traced back. It's probably some mutation. We lost out. Because the peaceful for most of human existence, the peaceful people got their fucking heads chopped off. It's the murderous, selfish, warmongers, psychopaths, sociopaths. Those are the people that thrive. Those are the people that are celebrated. You can't name a peaceful motherfucker from ancient history. Name a peaceful ancient person.
That's true.
Jesus.
Who?
Jesus. Joshua.
Well, yeah, but Jesus got crucified.
Yeah, he was peaceful.
So they claim. I mean, some people listen. So that's the other thing about Jesus. So that goes back to the other guy. It's always funny to me that when people describe their God, it's always they really like describing themselves, right? Because if you ask some people go, yeah, but Jesus walked up in that temple and flipped over tables. So we should be like, did you notice recent movement to rewrite Jesus as like this buff, you know what I'm talking about? Buff Jesus?
Yeah.
Because some people are like, no, Jesus was hard and Jesus knew jujitsu, So
I call him Texas Jesus.
Right. Yeah, Texas Jesus. No, but so
it's like if Jesus were allowed today, he'd be a Texan and he'd vote Republican and be like, probably not.
But he might be the only one that's remembered. Jesus, Buddha. That's about it. And even
Confucius, they aren't. Well, though Confucius was a fascist, but
even though none of them are really celebrated by the vast majority of people. But the vast majority, every single culture celebrates Julius Caesar, Hannibal Barca,
No, man,
Alexander the Great.
I'm gonna push back on this because there are plenty of philosophers and lawmakers who are celebrated across cultures. And, Hammurabi is not known for conquering people. He's known for creating a code.
Rob.
One of the earliest written down systems of law.
Rob, stop it, Rob. If I walk out this door and stop anybody on the street and say Hammurabi, they gonna think I'm talking. They gonna think I mispronounced jelly beans or them gummy bears. I'm talking about like people that's gonna be remembered throughout history till we all gone. Very few of them are not people that killed a bunch of people. You know what I mean? Genghis Khan, Hannibal Barca. Did I say Alexander the Great? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alexander the Great. Winston Churchill.
Napoleon, Hitler.
Socrates, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein.
Yeah, for now. But no, Socrates is a good one. I don't know how many people he killed. But
Shakespeare.
But I think Einstein's a little soon. So I guess in that regard, so was Hitler. Shakespeare was a myth, and nor was he peaceful. He was just a thief. But
he's a joke thief.
But anyway, history shows that if you want to be remembered right now in the current state of humanity, if you want to be remembered, the best thing for you to do is to kill a bunch of people. The more, the better.
Right.
Yeah, because here's the truth: if you kill, because we just learned this from the East Palestine trading thing, right? It's like, hey, you poison one person, and it's a crime. You poison a whole city. It's a tax write-off. Maybe it's a fine. Because I think what we learned is like, yeah, you kill 5 people, you're a serial killer. You kill 50 people, you're one of the most prolific serial killers ever. If you kill 100,000 people, you might just be the leader of some country somewhere that we're afraid to take out because we want the diamonds or whatever the fuck. If you kill millions,
one death is a tragedy. 1 million is a statistic.
Yeah, if you kill millions of people, because here's the truth. Here's the truth about Hitler, and is that the reason we remember Hitler as a villain is because he lost. If Germany had won that war, we would be talking. It would have been in the school books. Hitler's a hero and all this other shit.
He saved the world from the Jewish menace. That
right,
would have been,
of course.
That would be what we would learn in school. And we'd always speak in German.
Yep, that's the lie so.
I don't think we'd be here.
Will we definitely? Well, we still be here. They would need people to do.
I mean, I would.
Yeah, you definitely be here. So I just think, I think we're done. I think it's the beginning of the end, and I think a lot of y'all you don't want to see it. The writing is on the fucking wall. I'm definitely done. I think my body agrees. I think every time I wake up and I'm more cynical, I got some other injury or disorder or something.
That's what aging is, bro. I want to go back to this to the email though, because I think you came to do you consider yourself an atheist? Or you're agnostic atheist?
No, see, I don't like either one of those words. But I consider
non-believer.
I consider myself a non-believer, yeah.
Yeah. I think we came to it the same way because when I was a kid, I was raised Catholic, but I was really into mythology, especially like Greek and Roman mythology, and then later on Egyptian and Norse mythology. And when you read those stories and you realize that the people that worshiped those gods believed in them just as strongly as the people who are alive today and believe in their gods, you sort of see like, oh, well, why would I assume that I'm lucky enough to have been born to the right family in the right time in the right country, etc., to believe in the right God? And everybody else before me was wrong.
See,
I'm lucky enough to be born in the right time.
I think the Greeks and the Norse, I think they probably believed a little harder than we do. Because they thought the gods was actual people that was like up on that mountain. And sometimes they would come down and fuck you. You know what I mean? We took that part out of religions. Like sometimes God come down and fuck you.
Well, famously, God did come down and fuck Mary.
No, God did not fuck Mary. He miraculously implanted a baby in her womb.
Right.
Now, why didn't, if he could materialize babies, why didn't he do it, outside the womb? Why make her go through? I don't know. But he didn't fuck her. And I think that's where we went wrong. I think that's where we went wrong. I don't know. Because we carried over a lot of things from paganism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing. I just need to go straight up evil genius mode and start a cult. I need to find some tablets. Just tell people I discovered some tablets. They made my dick bigger. Just when I picked them up. And in my new religion, actually, if you really, 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 really believe, God might fuck you. And that's the highest honor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We need a Hercules.
Isn't that every cult?
Every cult is what? The leader might fuck you?
Every cult is like, hey, if you're lucky enough, God, by which I mean me, might want to fuck you.
Oh yeah, no. But see, I'm not talking about me. I would definitely abuse it. Yeah, I would definitely fuck people.
Yeah, I mean they every single time they're like, well, I mean, obviously I'm the avatar.
But,
I'm just the vessel by which God is having sex with you.
I would definitely be his vessel,
or your 14-year-old daughter, or whatever it is.
I started it. That's one of the perks. I get to be the vessel.
Yeah.
But I would not misrepresent and say that I was he. I'm not him. But
just his vessel.
Yeah, I'm his vessel. But he do want you to fuck me. You know what I'm saying? And then if you fuck me good enough, you might fuck the big guy. You know what I'm saying? And he definitely knows where the clit is because he invented it. Yeah, I would just start promising better shit to these other ones.
I always find it fascinating that a lot of doomsday cults that are like, it's happening next year, it's happening 10 years from now. People's belief in them increases after the doomsday date comes and goes. Have you seen this?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that makes 100%. Yeah, because we know that it's harder to convince someone that they've been fooled than it is to fool them in the first place. It's like people. It's an ego thing, right? The thought that you are so wrong is unbearable. So you like, or let me phrase it another way. I think the average person would burn and rebuild 10 beliefs before they burn down one of their core beliefs, like one of their foundational beliefs. Those are the hardest ones to get rid of. And if you fool a motherfucker to the point where it get down there, it's real hard for them to recover. It's hard. That's why most old people when they fall for one of these scams and shit, they don't go to the police. They just, because they're so embarrassed. They're too embarrassed to admit publicly that they was conned. So that's how most con men get away with it. It's like even by the time you realize it was a con, you ain't gonna tell nobody. And even if you do,
that's what a cooler used to be.
A cooler?
Yeah, for scam artists, you would have like a team that would run a scam, and one of the most important people on the team was called the cooler, and their job was, have you heard the term bezel? You know what a bezel is?
Like on a watch?
No, bezel. Oh, no. A bezel is like in a scam, the bezel is the period of time that begins with when the person has been successfully scammed and ends when they realize they've been scammed. So, the guy gets your cash and he leaves, and you're waiting for him to come back with the drugs, right? That period of time is the bezel until you realize, like, oh wait, that guy's not coming back.
That shit hit close to home.
That
was the first time I got scammed.
Oh yeah, that's the first time a lot of people got scammed. And the cooler is somebody for some of these more complex scams. Their job is to make sure they're sort of the aftercare portion of the scam, where they calm you down to prevent you from like going to the cops, right? And so one of the things that the really good ones have different strategies for preventing you from going to the cops. Some people will be like, no one will believe you, blah blah blah. But some of them will be like, you're gonna look like a fucking idiot if you try to go to the cops, you try to bring this public, and you tell them what happened. You're gonna look like a fucking moron. So you should just take your lumps and go home.
Why do you know so much about how to scam people, Rob? Come to think of it, I haven't even known you that long.
In the entire world.
I haven't known you that long. And he has access to my email, to my daggone Google AdSense.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's the Nigerian prince.
Yep.
No.
I'm gonna clean you out $40 at a time.
I know, right? But you never know, man. This Google Cash might be all that's worth anything.
Yeah, it could be the future. That could be the future. That's why I'm trying to get you to. That's why I'm trying to cool you on this whole doomsday thing. Just like, no, it's gonna be fine, Brian.
Nobody's gonna believe you. They're all gonna laugh at you. All right, one more thing before we get out of here. Let me see here. What is this? Brian's manifestation. Wow, is this? Wait a minute. What is this nigga? Okay.
Happy days, boys. Brian gets his wish. He was going to invent a time machine so he could go back and hear the sound of people being guillotined, but now they're just guillotining themselves all over the place in the here and now. So Brian, using a guillotine-like contraption in the here and now, so Brian can just fly in one of them. He might not have to even worry about the time travel. The old drug companies, of course, they want to invent a drug where they can take a psychedelic and remove all the good bits and sell you something at an extremely high cost. The whole point of psychedelics is that it gets you out of your current consciousness. So you talk about people who should take them because they've never left their small town. What about people who've never left their small ideology for their whole lives? I've got to pull you boys up on one thing. Now, you were talking about the sex addicts, and you said, I believe, that part of it is they have to keep trying to have sex with other women because once you've had sex with one woman once, there's no challenge having sex with her again. Try being married for 35 years, boys, and then we'll see how you go with that challenge. But very sad to hear you dropped in a little hint that you might not be getting Lex on the show. Very disappointed, Lex, very disappointed. But I hope that still means you're coming down to New Zealand sometime soon, Brian. Don't disappoint me too much. See you, boys.
Okay, what was that? Well, thank you for that, Tony. What was that? What was that word? We might not be getting what? Leaks?
Yeah, I don't know.
What did he say?
Lex Friedman.
Oh, Lex. Yeah. Well, that's not
Lex Friedman.
That's not a no. It's just Lex is really, really busy, and I barely know him. But I see him regularly, and I think he will eventually come on the pod at some point. But it's definitely not in his list of priorities and shit. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of shit going on. So, but I do get to have conversations with him from time to time. So he did give me his opinion on a lot of on the AI stuff and a lot of that kind of thing. But to come on the pod is a big commitment. Podcasts are it's tough enough for comedians to do this. But people that are like full-time podcasters and full-time engineers and full-time jiu-jitsu practitioners and I ain't one of those people. You know what I mean? I don't have time to be like I envy the type of motherfuckers that was like if their schedule isn't full, they feel unfulfilled. Like I know people that they're literally drowning. They need a break and they can't take one because they just have to be busy. They have to overload their schedule. And I'm just not one of those people. I need peace. I need that shit. Like I need oxygen. Because I'll start getting sick if I start feeling overwhelmed. My body will start responding like I'm stressed. Stress could fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? And like, so what I'm saying is some people are stressed when they don't have shit to do. You know, and I'm stressed when I have too much shit to do. You know, I'm a living, walking work-life balance type of motherfucker. I will take some shit off real quick. You know, because I watched so many of my parents. Because I had you know, like if you're familiar with me at all, I had so many parents, foster parents. You know, I lived with so many aunties and uncles and grandparents and real parents and foster parents, and I watched a good chunk of them work themselves to death. You know, to no avail. And I wouldn't say nothing to show for it, but you know, that's what it is for a lot of them. A lot of the time is they work themselves to the grave. You know, and something about watching people die from that shit just made me like I'm allergic to it. I'm always asking myself, what am I getting out of this?
Right.
You know, yeah, because motherfuckers they'll try to use that old school like values against you, like pull yourself up out of bootstraps and you should feel some honor and pride and fuck that. I ain't trying to hear all that shit. Like I'll never forget.
Just don't have that hustle grind set, Brian.
Yeah, when I was a door guy at the Comedy Store, and I'll never forget. I'll never forget working. I was working the backdoor shift, which to me is the worst shift. I was working that shift one day, and I remember they made record profits. Like there was that night they made more money than they'd ever made in the history of the Comedy Store. And I remember, I don't know if it was one of the managers or one of the servers or somebody that I remember them telling me with so much excitement in their voice. And my first thought was, I don't get none of that shit. I'm making the same minimum wage. That shit, like I don't get anything out of that at all.
Right.
And that's when I realized, like, oh, you know what? This is just a minimum wage job at the end of the day. You know, it means a lot in my industry. You know what I mean? It mean like it is a prestige thing. You know, almost like you know, but it's almost like if you was getting molested at Harvard. You know, it's like, yeah, you still at Harvard. You know what I mean? Like that's not true, but you still getting molested though. You have to acknowledge that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just don't. You know, I refuse to let people use, you know, prestige to keep me from seeing what's actually happening very clearly. You know, that's all.
Well, that's like when, you know, you're like you work for a big corporation and they're like, we're a family, you know, and when there's, when they make record profits, all the executives pocket huge bonuses. And when they lose money in a quarter, they're like, we're going to have to tighten our belts, guys.
Right.
And that means that we're going to fire a bunch of you. And some of you are going to have to take demotions or pay cuts. So we, you know, because we're family. And we have to, we all have to make sacrifices.
Yeah, well, they don't. Anytime your job is telling you that you're family, what they're not telling you is that it's an abusive family, and you're a small scared child, and their dad, they're the alcoholic father who gives you anxiety when you hear his car pull into the driveway. You know, and that's a good stopping point. Thank y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to support the pod by buying stuff from one of the sponsors or liking or sharing or telling somebody about it or commenting or whatever. And
sharing it and getting other people to subscribe to the channel is the best thing you can do to help us. Number two is
Or you audio people. Hey,
is
go on
getting a-
YouTube
is-
and subscribe. If you like, some people are audio only. In fact, I think
Yeah.
most of our listeners are audio only. Like a overwhelming majority of the listeners are audio only. But subscribe to the YouTube too. You know, just you ain't got, you know, and that's not that huge of a commitment. Just click on the button. But it lets me balloon my stats so I can ask for more money.
correct.
That's the stratagem, guys. Because I'm trying to pull myself by the bootstraps. You know.
We're trying to hit that hustle grind set, dude.
Yeah, hustle grind
That's what
set.
it's about.
25-8.
25. Oh, is that a 24/7? You got to do 25/8.
Yeah, 25/7 is for
Yeah.
24/7 is for regular people. Okay, this is the this is the grind set equivalent of 150%. I'm giving
I fucking hate when
200%.
people say 200%. Fuck you. I fucking hate people that say that.
I'm giving Rob. That's what we're doing. We're giving 200%, 25/8. While
We're gonna
everybody
be
else
the
out,
next Gary Vaynerchuk and Andrew Tate.
while everybody else out here sleeping, okay, we're out here maximizing our potential. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to sleep.
We're microdosing psilocybin. We're doing Amazon drop shipping.
Yeah, I don't need to sleep. I make money when I come. I just take amphetamines and I just keep coming, and that's how I survive. You know. What are you doing? What are you doing? You could be up making money right now. You could be up investing.
I literally do all that. The amphetamine.
I know it's a casino. Okay. Please like, subscribe, share, sponsors, all that stuff. Thanks for tuning in, y'all.